say thank you. You donate $5. You guys have made me laugh a lot. So here's a bit that I can give in return. P.S. Play in Ape Escape, either on Onlyplays or whatever. Well, if we're gonna play one, we'd want to play the first one. So that's the best one. But I'd like to at some point. We were going to. The first Ape Escape is a really good game. Regina donated $5 and said, "Thanks for the stream tonight. I have to finish a big art project tonight, so this will help me stay up. Love you." Thank you, Raina. Alfie606 donated $10 and said, "Who's the tallest and smallest boy in Oni play?" I think Chris is like an inch taller than me. And Julian is the shortest. Or is Chris taller? I might just be the same height. I don't even remember. I always feel like he's taller, but then we have situations where we're out with like Matt, and I'm looking directly at him, like making eye contact. I'm like, oh wait, we're like the same height, aren't we? Yeah, he was taller. I always have little moments like that. Chris is like 6'2", and Matt's like the same height. Oh, is Chris 6'3"? I thought he was 6'2". Yeah, everyone at the office is pretty tall. Then again, I don't even know what's considered tall, because I always thought like perfect 6'0". I thought that was like normal height, but apparently a lot of people aren't that tall. It's like 5'11", I guess, is the average. I thought I was 5'11" for the longest time because I hadn't measured my height since like high school. I remembered I told that to Julian. I said, I think I'm like 5'10" or 5'11". And he's like, oh, that's how tall I am. And I came out here and I'm much, much taller than him. And I realized then, oh, maybe that's not the case. It was funny because I was also checking my BMI and everything too. And I was like, oh, wow. I'm considered pretty heavy for my height. Then I realized I'm not that short. So I'm not in the best position with that now. I think I'm like 100. I might have gone down to 130 pounds. I don't think I did. I think I'm still 140. With Matt, it's scary though, because Matt is like 6 foot. He's 6'2", I think. Matt's 6'2", I think, and he's I think he's like 130. For that height, like that's that. Well, that's what's weird is that he's like he's very, very skinny. He's like a skeleton. I don't know. Maybe it's because I look at myself in the mirror and I think I have a little bit on me. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm crazy. Everyone says I'm way too skinny. Because I'm about the same height and I'm like only 10 pounds heavier. Matt's been working out a lot. He's gonna be a big man. Oh man, someone mentioned curry. We bought so much curry sauce mix. We're gonna be making so much curry. I'm really excited for that. This is a marathon stream. It's been going since last night, so I guess. You know what do those marathoners always complain about doing their 24-hour streams? It's no big deal. I do it without even realizing it. It's probably not a good thing. I never realize I stream for this long. Julian just woke up. I mean, that should say something. He fell asleep around the beginning of the stream and now he's awake. Yeah, the Insane Trilogy version of Crash 1 is a huge improvement. It plays a lot better. There's very big issues that come up within the Insane Trilogy. Most of that is more reflected with the other two games. Crash 1 on PS1 is already a really flawed game, so all changes they made to it are welcome. The comment section for the trilogy is fucking bananas. I have not looked. Are people getting really mad? I don't think the ice physics were really ever fucked up. The way to take advantage of ice in Crash Bandicoot is that you slide while on it. So it's you sliding over and over and over again to steer yourself, which is actually fun to do. I like it a lot. I think it's fun. Cold Hard Crash has a really fun segment for it. And in the Insane Trilogy, though, it doesn't work like that. I mean, it does still work like that, but the problem is when you land on ice now, there's this weird thing that happens. Your landing animation, you get stuck in it. You can't just slide out of it, and it's overly lengthened. So you can't move around as quickly as you used to be able to on ice. And then after adjusting to that, you also have to realize that sometimes when you land on ice platforms, it stops your momentum. You land on it, and if you had a lot of speed, it just suddenly disappears. But then other times it doesn't. It keeps your momentum. So it keeps stacking each time that you jump and land on it. It's really bizarre. It's really, really weird. Yeah, there's more landing lag. It's a big thing. We're playing it on the PS4. Chris left his PS4 here. We got to play it a little bit early, and we've been uploading some videos of it. Sandra, our PS3 broke. Sandra, our PS3 broke. The laser on it's busted. We have to buy a new laser for it. It doesn't read discs anymore. So we can't watch Blu-rays, we can't watch DVDs, we can't play games on it. Yeah, Trash Monster 13. That's a good summary. Yeah, Sandra, from what I've been reading, apparently it's not that hard to fix. You just have to buy a new laser and you just open it up and swap it. So we can probably fix it. I don't know. I'm just nervous about it. I also have to look up where to buy a new laser replacement for it. Alfie606 donated $1 and said that was my first donation anything ever. Love you. Thank you. Strider donated $5 said love the stream. Love you. Love you too. Thank you. Johnny Guitar donated $5 and said, when's the next all-day stream? I mean, I did half a day this time. I'm getting there. Maybe I should just do that at some point. Because everyone always talks about doing like stream marathons and everything for charities. I'd be up for doing something like that for a charity. I easily have the endurance for it. I keep doing this without even realizing it. I guess I should look into that kind of thing. Do for your equipment. Oh. Hey, you know, I thought doing it for a charity is probably a better thing, but okay. Stream all Wild Woody for charity. We're going to be playing it soon. It works. Cheeky donate $5 and said good night stream. Good night. Thank you for the donation. Goddamn Gypsies donated $10. Wow, what a name. Thanks for all the hours of entertainment on Only Plays and Game Grumps. Here's a little change to keep the good times rolling. Thank you. Sandra, someone actually uploaded a video trying to speedrun it, and they had plenty of mistakes because the game was fighting them so hard. I would like to see people try to speedrun Wild Woody only because I want to know if someone can somehow do a perfect playthrough of it, that they don't slip and fall off a ladder, or that jumps act too goofy, or like clipping into walls or anything like that. I want to know if someone can actually pull that off, that they could sit down, play it, and not have any of that get in the way. Because it doesn't seem possible to me. I'm pretty sure no matter what, those things are going to get in the way and slow somebody down. So it still looks like they're fumbling and struggling to play it. Speedrun.com/wildwoody. That better be real. That better be real. Oh, it is. It is. Look at the. I love the background. 37 minutes, 28 seconds. You know what? Maybe I'll challenge that. Maybe I will challenge that time. You know what? I'll think about doing a stream dedicated to that. I'll think about doing a stream dedicated to practicing levels in it and actually figuring out good times for it. At least it's not for hard mode. Okay, well, that's something I'm gonna look into doing at some point, is a Wild Woody speedrun attempt. Oh yeah, well, when we played Wild Woody on Oni Plays, we set it to hard mode. It has a hard mode and it's broken. They didn't test the game in it. So some parts of the game are pretty close to impossible thanks to that. You take extra damage, and because of how much damage you take, there's parts of the game that kill you very easily unless you can get very lucky with the game to actually do what you want to do. You can't choose when you kill enemies in it. You jump on them and hope it works, and sometimes it just doesn't. So if you get bad luck with that, you're just going to end up dead on hard mode. You have to have really good luck. And then one of the boss fights, I wish we didn't lose our footage of Wild Woody. One of the boss fights in Wild Woody, you can die in almost like 4 seconds. You can just die immediately out the door. Because it shoots a bunch of things at you that follow you, move way too quick, and because they're so erratic, you can't even line yourself up with them to kill them. And they shoot 2 of them at you as soon as you come into the room. So if you're not moving, or you're not ready for it, or you struggle with that too much, you can seriously die in like 3 or 4 seconds. And then on top of that, it's during a boss fight, so you have to land on top of the boss, which requires you to climb a bunch of ladders, which are already finicky. And then if you try to land on them, the spot that you have to erase doesn't work. It's so small that every time you land on it, you're probably going to go right through it. And even worse is, if you end up accidentally erasing the enemies that are chasing you, it prioritizes that over the boss. So since they're chasing you, you can fall right on top of them. And if you fall on top of them, you kill them and go right past the boss. It's a nightmare. It's really, really bad on hard mode. That boss fight is next to impossible to get through without taking a death. Let's see. The Glowing Goddess donated $5 and said, "That's all I can afford to give. Sorry. Thanks for always making me laugh." Thank you. Zach Shimisham donated $20. Ooh, thank you. $20. Good money for a good boy. Insightful. Oh, wait, that's the right person. Insightful and enjoyable stuff to listen to while doing some work at night. Thanks for the entertainment. Well, thank you. Spud Baps donated $10 and said, "Haven't been able to catch a stream in a while. Hello, here's the song of the day. Oh, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I want to dance with somebody who loves me." Thank you, Spud Baps. That was beautiful. Duck G's 69 donated $5 and said, "How my dog just neigh on me?" Okay. Oyster Boy donated $10 and said, "Here's $10 for your ability to play games for so many hours. I'm very impressed how you don't get fatigued or lose patience after the first 3 hours. It's a mystery, but thank you." Thank you, Ninja Guy Danny, for $15. "Hey Ding Dong, I just got here and I was wondering, how do you feel about the new Trilogy? I was playing it last night and I feel like it's pretty faithful, but the long load times and clipping glitches soured me a bit." Yeah. The load times are a pretty big issue. You know what? That might even be an easy reason to just tell people, like, hey, this is why you probably shouldn't get it. The load times are really, really bad in this, and even though I have the patience for it, Crash 1, because of some of those levels where you're not allowed to die, I probably wasted God knows how many minutes. I'm going to say a half hour of the stream was dedicated to loading screens. That's pretty bad. It's a significant issue. But yeah, my issues are the fact that I hate that all the little quirks to the movement rub me just enough the wrong way that it frustrates me. I do not like having a level like that bridge level that you're supposed to bounce on these turtles to get across the bridge, but because the tights are so jump. I'm tired, by the way, if you didn't know. Because the jumps are so tight, and since they have that quirk of you clipping and getting shoved off of platforms, I don't... Can I show that again, maybe? Should I show that again? I really don't want to play that level again. Take my word for it, I showed it earlier during the stream. When you jump on the turtles, each time you bounce, it pushes you off of it a little bit. And that's not intentional. That's because of how they program collisions in this. It happens with the normal bouncy boxes too. If you sort of land on a platform, it'll sometimes just push you off anyways and act like it was a wall. But you see yourself land on it. You visually see yourself land on it and then watch yourself get pushed off of it. It's a thing that happens very often in this. And I don't think most players are going to pick up on it or notice it. But I was noticing it the whole way through, and it was really starting to piss me off. It's very, very irritating. Because it makes it not feel like it's your fault anymore. When you make a mistake, you want it to feel like it's your fault. And then on that bridge level with the turtles, because they push you off so much, I just ended up using the ropes off to the side because it was more reliable. It felt more safe than trying to use bouncing platforms that knock you off of them. Yeah, the first Crash game is weird to go back to. The controls really odd. That's why I was saying the insane version of first Crash is actually pretty decent because they cleaned up a lot of it and made it control better. Even if there's these weird quirks to the Insane Trilogy's movement that I really hate, it's still better than the original Crash because of what they did to improve on it. But as I said too, Crash 2 and Crash 3 do not benefit from the Insane Trilogy. They're just downgrades. It's also kind of funny in a way. When people see the Insane Trilogy, they probably would think like, oh, So Crash 1 is probably the easiest, Crash 2 is probably in the middle, and Crash 3 is probably going to be the hardest, right? No, that's actually incorrect. The games get easier with each one. Crash 1 is the hardest game, and it's the first one there, so people are probably going to pick it thinking like, oh, this is the one I'm going to start off on, which is probably not a good move. So I'll say it again. Anyone wondering, like, would I recommend this? Personally, as someone who really enjoyed the original Crash 2 and thought Crash 3 was pretty fun, Crash 1 just kind of in the middle with it. For someone who did, though, really enjoy the original 3 games on the PS1, I don't know if I would recommend this. The Insane Trilogy version of the first game is at least pretty solid. But, like I mentioned too, lots and lots and lots of loading screens, making it pretty irritating to play. Then on top of all that, you have the quirks of the Insane Trilogy movement that, while it still plays better, you still have some issues you're going to have to deal with. And while Crash 1 is an improvement, Crash 2 is pretty horrid a lot of the time because of what happened to the Insane Trilogy. Crash 2... If the Insane Trilogy did not have Crash 1, I could not recommend it at all. I could not tell people to buy this. This would be a huge waste of money if you just wanted Crash 2 and Crash 3. That would be a horrible, horrible waste of money. They're already available on PSN for next to no money. They look better. They control better. They're better. Just stick to those. You don't have to wait for loading screens all the time either. Just stick to those. But, because I would like to say that as a positive. I'd like to say, well, they added time trials and relics to all 3 games, which is cool. It's not just a thing in Crash 3. Now it's in 2 and 1. I'd like to say it's a cool feature, but because of how awkward the controls are in this, it does not lend itself to time trials. It just makes them frustrating. Crash 3, I really love the time trial idea, and it's great for that game. It's a lot of fun to do in Crash 3, because Crash 3 is so responsive. In the Insane Trilogy, it's not as responsive anymore, so it's not going to be fun to do in the Insane Trilogy. And as great as it would have been in Crash 2, I hope at some point someone does like a ROM hack or something to introduce it into Crash 2 or something. As great as it could have been in Crash 2 as a feature, that's if it was in the original Crash 2. The Insane Trilogy version of Crash 2, I really don't care. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do time trials in it because it's not the same game. But if you want a good version of Crash 1, Insane Trilogy at least has that to offer. I would say that if it drops in price, maybe consider it then. Right now, I would not recommend it. Because 1/3 is pretty decent. They could fix this with patches. They could. I don't think they're going to. Everyone keeps saying that too. Everyone really wants that, don't they? People have to just recognize this. Maybe I'll be wrong. I'd love that, honestly. In fact, people will probably come back and like rub that in my face that they do patch it. I hope they do. I hope they do patch it. I really would like that. But I've said it a million times during the stream. They showed it off at PAX. They showed it off at E3. They showed it at all these places. Everybody was saying the same thing. The controls feel off. People were dying in spots that they never used to die in. People were getting stuck on the staircase at the beginning of Hang 8. It was not playing correctly to people, and they didn't do anything about it. I don't know if they're going to patch it. They had the opportunity to fix it this whole time and never did. How much effort would it take to patch? Honestly, it might take a decent amount, at least on some of these things. The jump arc thing, they probably could easily fix with a patch. The collision issue, though, getting clipped inside of stuff and getting shoved off of them, that one is not as much of a quick fix. That's happening because of how they program collisions to work in this game altogether. I think they're using an engine that has all of that going, which is why that is the end result. It's not a... It was not set up for this sort of game in mind. And because of that, it happens all the time, and it's really annoying. And they would have to they'd have to redo that essentially, or try really hard to code a bunch of things to try to prevent it from happening as often, but still would probably happen here and there. That one wouldn't be as easy to patch, I don't think. The jump arc one would be. But like I said, I don't know if they're going to patch that kind of thing. And as much as all that annoys me, the biggest thing that really does need a patch, and I kept looking past it. I'm surprised I did. I guess it's because I do have a lot of patience. The loading screens are really bad in this. They're really bad. They last like 10 seconds each time. And in Crash 1, because there's the no death challenges on levels, that means you quit, you wait 10 seconds to load the map, you select the level again, wait 10 seconds. That process repeating over and over and over and over and over again. It wastes so much of your time on nothing. So after redoing a level like 3 to 4 times, within the time that it loaded that level, you could have had another attempt at the level. And when that sort of thing happens, that's bad. That's really, really bad. What do you think of the graphics upgrade? It's not as bad as it looked before. Crash 1 actually, for the most part, I think looks pretty decent visually. Still prefer the PS1 games overall. I said it before, it's meant to look cartoony. I really don't understand the whole idea of trying to make it look more realistic. And while Crash 1 for the most part looks pretty nice, Crash 2 is hideous. There's only a few points in it where it looks alright. For the most part, it's pretty hideous. The warp room is disgusting. Some of the stages look awful. The sewer levels are some of the worst. It is not a pretty looking game. And then some of the redesigns they did to like enemies and bosses. The flamingo ostriches that are in the one level at the beginning of Crash 2, they gave them like weird human eyes for some reason. And then because of the dynamic lighting and shadows, it looks like they have bags around their eyes, and that happens to a lot of the new enemies. So they look really disgusting. I don't know why they did that. The worst I saw in Crash 1 were those birds on Slippery Climb. They look pretty bad. But everything else for the most part looks decent in Crash 1. Crash 2 is pretty hideous. Crash 3 is pretty ugly at points too. Crash 3 I think they rushed the most. But the biggest compliment I can give, Uka Uka looks amazing. Like, out of all of these characters, as much as they're trying to, like, they're really hamming up the animations for a lot of these characters to the point of kind of overdoing it. Uka Uka looks exactly probably how I would have wanted him to look. Because in a lot of the artwork of these characters too, their faces will be like tilted and exaggerated in certain ways that didn't translate fully into the game itself. Uka Uka looks great because they actually do that with his animations. They do a lot of stuff to move his face around. They take full advantage of his model, and they do a lot with him. He looks fantastic. Very, very expressive. Looks great. That's what I would want from everyone else. But you don't get that from the characters' faces in this, which was part of what made the PS1 games look great. Their faces are very expressive. All those vertex animations and everything, they look great. not really a thing here. The faces on a lot of these characters look really hideous here. I also personally don't like a lot of the new voices. I've never enjoyed Cortex's new voice. I only liked it in Twinsanity because Twinsanity is such a goofy game in nature anyways. It works for it. The delivery that the original... I always forget his name. The original Neo Cortex voice, though, always really liked it a lot. Suited him great. And the delivery was always really good for the lines they gave him. Comparing the opening to the PlayStation 1 version of Crash 2 to the Insane Trilogy version of Crash 2, I think already you can tell the difference between them. He goes, "Do," when it's just supposed to be a little quick gag when his light goes out at the beginning. Just things like that. Just little subtleties like that. New Cortex voice has to ham it up as much as possible. Crash, crash, crash. Like, settle the fuck down. You don't need to ham it up all the way when he wasn't meant to be this super exaggerated cartoony character in the first 3 games. Twinsanity, I'm all for it. Works great there. It's a little annoying when you're trying to make him sound this goofy when it's not even needed. So, I don't know. I'm all over the place with the Insane Trilogy, but I'll say it again. Exceeded my expectations. I thought it was going to be pretty horrid all around. It's not. Crash 1's actually pretty fun on it. It's just not good for Crash 2 and 3. And hopefully you're somebody who is still amazed by these newfangled shaders and engines. Hopefully all of that is still something that wows you, so the visuals will do something for you. I can't stand a lot of what they've done with it. Seeing Crash's eyes be almost pitch black because of the shadows on it, while his fur is neon colored and shining bright with no shading whatsoever. I can't look past that. That's really bad. And for those games, there's nothing they really had to do. There's no improvements to them, really. For Crash 1, they improved it. It was a game that needed an improvement, and they improved it. So that's good. Crash 2 and 3 didn't really need improvement, and they didn't do anything to improve it. They just downgraded it in every single way. A lot of people haven't. Oh, yeah, Creeper's Rock. If you just came in, yeah, I did. I had a lot of trouble with that turtle part. I didn't use the turtles to beat the level. I ended up just jumping on the bridge and using the railings to do it. Because I was saying it the whole time, I don't have any faith in those turtles because they push you off of them because the collisions in this game are so wonky. Platforms and crates in this game shove you off of them if you land on the sides of them. Even though it looks like you landed, you get pushed off. And it's really frustrating. And those turtles are the worst because the turtles clip into you from their bouncing animation, which pushes you off of it bit by bit. You don't even... If you jump on a turtle, no matter where you're positioned on it, if you let go of your controller, it slowly pushes you off of it. And when you're making tight jumps, so you have to land on the edge of these turtles anyways, they're probably going to push you off of them. It's not good. It's very, very bad on that level. Not to mention the more intense gravity doesn't help that level either. So my advice to anyone doing that level, because I got 100% now, I'm done with Crash 1. Anyone who's going to be doing that level when playing through the Insane Trilogy, just use the railings. Don't rely on those turtles. They're much more unreliable than just jumping on the railings. You're going to have to pace yourself when you're on them because you can slide off. Since they're a curved object, you can slide off of them. But when you're nearing the end of where you need to go on the railing, if you could jump off of it to land on a platform from where you're standing on the railing, just do it. Just jump forward. So if you land back on the railing and it pushes you back onto the bridge, you at least can land on the bridge then. Just take your time trying to walk across the railings. It's safer than trying to use the turtles. That's my advice on that level. That was the worst level for me too. Slippery Climb did not take me very long. Slippery Climb was like it was a fair amount of attempts that I took on it. But it was actually weird. The deaths on that one for me, I think I had to do it like 11 or 12 times to get the gem. Most of those were on the opening to the level. It was just that very beginning portion. The run when I finally got it was like the whole level I just played through. I don't know why I was having so much trouble at the beginning of that one. After that point, it wasn't so bad at all. What do you think of that site calling it the new Dark Souls? I made fun of that plenty during the stream. Don't worry about it. It's embarrassing that a game that little kids could finish years and years ago is considered too hard for these people who are paid to play these games. It's also always been difficult, and they were trying to say in that piece that they were never this hard when they were. Crash 1 is much harder on the PS1. Crash 1 doesn't let you make mistakes. You also can't properly save or anything either. Using like the Tawna tokens and everything, you can't repeat those areas. If you screw up on one of those areas, you have to exit the level. If you die on any stage in Crash 1, you have to redo it. A death means that you're not going to have the crates anymore if you hit a checkpoint. You have to start the level all over. Crash 1 is fucking brutal on the PS1. Not to mention the controls are a lot more awkward because you have to commit to jumps. You have very slow acceleration. That game is really, really brutal on the PS1. And Sane Trilogy fixed it up a lot. They still could have improved on it more, though. There's much more room to improve on it. But they improved it a decent amount. But yeah, I'll say that again. Anyone who, if anyone's gonna ask me what was the hardest level on this one, it wasn't Slippery Climb, because on the PS1 everyone would answer Slippery Climb, because it was. Not anymore. That goes to the, what's that level called? The one with the turtles on the bridge? That's the worst level in this one, because it's so clumsy to do. It's not a good level for the Insane Trilogy. Sunset Vista was always harder than Slippery Climb. Which one's that? Only like 2 or 3 levels stuck out in my head for being bad. The lab was frustrating in this one, and that's just because it was sort of hard to gauge with the visuals in the Insane Trilogy. I think it also gave me a harder time because I was reading the chat a lot while doing that one. I wasn't really focusing on it as much as I should have. So I probably wasted way too much time there. Is it the high road? Might be the high road. You can reach 101 with the relics and Crash 1. Yeah, I'm not going for it. I've said that too. I am not going for relics in Crash 1 because I hate all those minor quirks of the Insane Trilogy's movement adding together. And I tried getting one of them before. On the first level, no less, I tried getting one of the relics. And because of those little quirks, the simplest of things became difficult. There's a bouncy box with a crate right above it that you need to jump in between to save the most time. And every single time I did it, I got pushed off of the bouncy box and got stuck on it for about a second. It wasted my time consistently because of that stupid fucking movement quirk in the Insane Trilogy. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And at least when you're going for gems, you can pace yourself and take your time. You can't do that for time trials, meaning you're going to run into that issue constantly. It's going to be non-stop, rapid fire. You're going to be shoved off so many objects. You're going to get stuck behind so many crates that you had jumped on. It would be unbelievable. I am not going to go for relics just for that. I don't care. It is a cool idea for sure. It's a great idea that they added the time trials into 1 and 2. 2 especially, I would have loved it. If it's the original PS1 2 and they had time trials, I would have been in heaven. I love the time trials in 3. If the original 2 had those, I would love it to death. That would be so good. But unfortunately, it's the Insane Trilogy version of it that has it. And I don't want to wrestle with those controls. It's not fun to do. It doesn't feel good to play. So, cool that they added it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it for Crash 1. I'm not doing it for Crash 2. I'm not doing it for Crash 3. Sorry. Time trials seem doable in 2. Well, you didn't watch me do 2. Some of the levels... You know what? Then again, 2 probably wouldn't be too bad in Insane Trilogy. Because I'm thinking about getting gems in Insane Trilogy in 2, which would really, really suck. Relics wouldn't be as bad as Crash 1 would be. Crash 1 getting relics in the Insane Trilogy, fuck no. I'm not doing that. You kidding me? I would have been all for it if those quirks weren't there, though. If this seriously had controlled exactly like the PS1 Crash 2, if Crash 1 here controlled exactly like that, yes, I would do it. I would be playing this constantly doing that. I would be having so much fun doing that. I wouldn't care how many deaths I'm taking or how many restarts I'm going to be doing or how close I am and just being a little bit off from getting like a platinum relic. I wouldn't care. I'd be doing it constantly because those controls, if it was the PS1 controls from 2, I'd be doing it all the time. It'd be a lot of fun. It'd be great. Unfortunately, it's not. It's the Insane Trilogy controls. All those quirks add up. Not worth it. Because the time trials require perfection out of you. I want to feel like I can rely on my controls for that sort of thing. After that one level with the turtles on the bridge, after that, I don't feel like I can trust these controls. I feel like part of it is a gamble each time I make a jump. I don't feel like I can trust the controls that I'm using. Maybe they'll patch it though. Who knows? Maybe they'll patch it. If they patch it, that would do a lot for it. If they patch that, gravity speed, loading screens, those 3 things, fantastic. That could save a lot. And I think I've mentioned this before in a stream. That was always a thing I wanted to do with some games. There's some games that are actually really, really bad that could have been relatively fun if they just changed some really minor things. If they just removed delay times or like the acceleration speed in some games, just really tiny things. If they just commented out some of that in the code or just slightly tweaked it, they could have been much better games and probably been held up as like classics even to a certain length. That's all it takes in some games to go from controls that are amazing to controls that suck. Look at the jump from Crash 1 to Crash 2. Crash 2 feels amazing to play. It's great. It's a lot of fun because they just stripped off the things that weren't necessary and made Crash 1 feel awful. There's no acceleration rate anymore. There's no deceleration. There's no committing to jumps. You can turn around. There's none of that nonsense. When you spin, you're not stuck spinning in that direction anymore. You can move around freely while doing it. There's no weirdo system with hidden numbers in the back saying like, oh, you press spin 3 times in a row. Now you're not allowed to spin for 2.5 seconds. None of that. They figured it out. They got it working great. You didn't feel inhibited by anything. You were free to do what you wanted to do, and it felt great. That's the sort of thing that it needed, and Insane Trilogy is a step backwards. They had a game that controlled great, and now it just controls okay. Did the stream die? I hope it didn't. Hopefully the stream's still up. No, the stream's still here. Okay. Oh, hey. Hey, Imp. I'm still going, by the way. I just finished getting 100% in Crash 1. Then I accidentally loaded my save file again, so it's down to 98%. How did Stormy Climb? Stormy Climb wasn't bad! Or it's not Stormy Climb, it's Slippery Climb. Slippery Climb isn't bad. It was just fine. Slippery Climb, it was like 10, 11 attempts, but those attempts, almost all of them were just the beginning of that level. After I got past the bird, after the first like staircase that collapses, after I got past that part, I think it took 2 attempts and then I had the whole level down and that was it. Wasn't bad at all. Felt just fine. Outside of slipping off platforms, which came from the other attempts. That happened way too many times. But yeah, that wasn't that bad. The stupid bridge with the turtles was the hardest level, just because it barely works. And from some of the people who came in here, they were telling me a lot of other people had the same issue. Apparently everyone has been struggling with that level. So I'm glad people are noticing. That level was bad in the original, but not for the same reason. I showed the stream. I think, were you asleep at that point when I was doing that level? I showed the stream. I left my controller alone. I didn't touch it, and I just left Crash bouncing on the turtle. Each time he landed on it, it shoved him off of it a little bit. And because of that, and I showed it later in the level, I jumped on just the side of the turtle where you'd normally be landing on it. Not too far off to the side. I tried to be a little bit centered on it, but I showed them. I jumped on once. Crash falls off of it. Because he gets pushed off the turtle every time he bounces on it, it leads for a lot more deaths than should be happening. That was not an issue in the actual first game. That did not happen. You didn't get pushed off the turtle after the first bounce and killed. And because of that, it made it way too hard. The turtles were unreliable, so ultimately I just ended up jumping on the railing and using the railing to beat the level because it was safer. And yeah, there is rope slipping in this because it's a rounded edge, but it's still safer to do. I'm probably not saving the stream because I wasn't very happy with it, but I do want to go back and at least maybe get clips of those moments because that moment was a good showcase of how The Insane Trilogy is very wonky with bouncy objects. And it also shows off the whole idea behind that you can slip off of things and how bad it is in this. Because that level, I showed it off. I remember one of the bonus stages, I used the bouncy crate to show the weird gravity in this. So you bounce upwards, and then just suddenly you drop like a sack of bricks just out of nowhere. Falling from huge heights really shows that off in this. I feel like there was some other thing that happened. It happened during one of the levels, I remember. I slipped off one of the platforms, and it was really, really obvious as it happened because it was so slow as it happened. Because I was holding up trying to fight against it, and everyone got to see Crash like walking in place for just a few frames before finally being knocked off of the thing. It happened during Slippery Climb, I remember. One of the platforms that goes in and out from the wall, it pushed me off of it. And it pushed me off of it that I got pushed towards the screen, and because of that, it made it really noticeable. Because it didn't look like a platforming problem on my part. It just makes it look like, what's going on? Crash landed on the platform. Now he's hovering in the air. Now he just fell. What just happened? It made it look really bad because it is bad. It's just hard to notice because it's such a small thing. Yeah. I noticed that when we played it on Oni Plays too. Was the 1-ups that come out of the crates sometimes don't come out where they're supposed to. Sometimes they like get pushed backwards and end up in like a grid space behind where it's supposed to end up. I think it's for the same reason like why you slip off of objects. I think they're using the engine's collision detection, and because of that, you're seeing an object that bounces when it appears sort of clip into a crate that's next to it, so it pushes it back even though it shouldn't be doing that. I think that's what's ending up happening. It's not a big deal in any way at all, but it's noticeable in some spots. Well, Imp, I would say the Crash 1 thing is a positive. This version of Crash 1 is actually pretty decent. It's not bad. I had fun playing it. Outside of that one level with the turtles, that one was pissing me off because of all the little issues coming together. I clipped into the crates by the checkpoint. I clipped into those crates like 8 times. And then the one time, remember, I fell off the cliff and was clipped into the wall, so Crash was just walking inside the wall, not falling. Stuff like that. It was getting really irritating on that level. But overall, Crash 1's actually pretty good in this. Crash 2, I do not want to ever touch in this. And even if the time trial thing seems like a good idea in here, that maybe you can excuse some of the movement quirks, I don't think I personally could. I don't think I could look beyond that because 2 already controlled perfect. Having that stripped down and just getting to think of that the whole time while I'm playing it, getting to jump and then thinking in my mind, oh god, he's going to land and he's going to slip off of it. There's like a slot machine going. He has a 50% chance of sliding off the platform even though he landed on it. Just thinking that the entire time, I don't like that. I don't like having to think about that in my mind, that I can't trust the controls. It doesn't make me want to do time trials when that's the case. I want to push a game to its limits like that with time trials when it controls perfect. It's why something like Wild Woody, for example, I was saying that earlier, that's a game that I want to see people do speed runs of it, just because of how humorously broken it is. You cannot consistently do anything in that game. Nothing works. Grabbing a ladder rarely ever works. That game is broken beyond belief. You never feel like you're in control. You always feel like everything is a gamble because it is. It's programmed that poorly. So seeing that come up in a game like this is not good. Having a situation like that where I'm thinking about something like Wild Woody, where I think to myself, I could make this jump and still get killed just because of the quirks in this game. I can land this jump and still get pushed off the platform. I don't like that. I really don't like that. I'm sure most people can excuse that one. That's me, though. I don't like that at all. That bothers me a lot. If I clip it, I don't think people are gonna... they're gonna say that it was on my end anyways. I'm sure that'll be what happens. I tried my best to show some moments where it was very clearly, blatantly happening. But I'm sure that's what people are going to say anyways. They're just going to fall back on saying, like, no, you slipped off. That was on you. You held back and you fell off. I'm sure people will say stuff like that. And with the bounty turtle thing, I'm sure they'll say, like, why does it matter? That's so small. Why does that matter? Matters when you're going for the gem. Matters a lot, actually. Like I say, coming from someone who just did 100% on this, it matters a lot. It really gets in the way on some of these stages when it never used to. Slippery climb should not be easier than that one level. Something is wrong when that ends up happening. But, anyways, let's get back to donations. We'll finish up here. I'm sure people are gonna still be complaining about the Crash 2 series as it goes. I do feel bad about that. I do feel bad that Crash 2, we weren't cracking many jokes during it. And I'm not sure what part it's going to come up in, but I did try to sort of pull discussion back a little bit. I didn't want that to be a series where all we do is feel disappointed, but it's kind of what ended up happening, so I feel bad about that. If people want funny Insane Trilogy videos, watch Crash 1 and 3. 2, you're not going to be getting that. If people want to hear actual discussion, though, watch 2, I guess, but I don't think most people do. You know what, let's go check it out. Let's actually see. Because people kept bringing it up that people were really mad at the Crash 2 one. So where is it? Crash 2 episode 1. Thing is, they drag on and on and on about nitpicks. Nah, that's what I expected. I know, it's like it's a conversation or something. It's like when people talk, it doesn't go on for 10 seconds. It usually goes on for a few minutes. And when it's only a 10-minute video, it seems longer than it is. I was worried about that. I was worried people were going to get really bothered if anything came up like that. If you were getting really mad about it, holy cow. Talk about having rose-colored glasses about the original. No. We played all of them recently. Ugh. Man, oh man. It's weird to me also because we played these before anyone else did. The time's not really there for people to be taking in the Insane trilogy yet by comparison. Oh well. Yeah, it's gonna be ukulele again. We're developing a game, so we have to critique other games, is what I'm feeling. What? Jesus Christ. Is this really where we're at? Are we really at that? That you can't seriously say anything about what you feel anymore? I'm actually really disappointed now. I'm sad. These are the top comments too. Yeesh. It's not memeing, it's genuine. I mean, it was on the subreddit too. It's everywhere. People are very mad about this. Oh well. Oof. Well, can't wait to start dreading these getting posted every day. This is exactly what... It's what I always think at the time while we're recording these two. I always think, like, someone says something for just 10 seconds that's a minor critique, and I always think in the back of my mind, like, okay, everyone's gonna get really, really mad now. And it happens. It didn't seem like a big deal, but I guess it really was. Man. Why does this have to be another ukulele? It's funny to me that also became like the switch around for it, was that with ukulele, people were first saying, like, what do you know? Oh yeah, but it's so easy to program a game. Let's see you do better. And it's like, well, I mean, I've worked at companies before, working on stuff now. It's not like this is coming from nowhere. So then the response now on the new video is, oh, it's because since they're making games, they feel like they need to tear everyone else apart. No, it's because we really like the Crash Bandicoot games, and you say how you feel as you're playing something. Man. I said already, it's not YouTube comments. It's everywhere. It's on the subreddit too. There's threads talking about it on some forums. It's not a closed off thing. I know people want to say that too to be friendly about it. It's like, oh, it's the comments. It's not a closed off thing. Everybody is very bothered by this Crash 2 video. I'm surprised though, they're actually bringing up the Crash 1 video and saying that we're doing the same thing there. Did we make a criticism at any point during Crash 1? I think for the most part we were only making jokes the whole way through. Oh, once again, sorry everybody if you don't want to hear how people feel about a game. Don't watch them play it because they're probably going to talk about how they feel. If you wanna live in an isolated world where only your view is there, you probably shouldn't watch these. Criticisms on how Cortex looked. I guess that would set people off. What? I wasn't even talking about V. I don't care what V says. V I don't care about. I care when it's like on the subreddit and everything though, because it's like, wow, even the people who are usually the most dedicated are getting really angry about it. Well, Sandra, what happened was people didn't like ukulele, but I think it's if we ever just have discussion, people get really mad about it. Because during ukulele, the first video, Julian was talking about how he thought the character designs were kind of boring, and people got really, really mad about that. People were very, very upset about that. I don't think they want Oni Plays to ever be videos that actually discuss things. I think they just want it to be funny noises the whole time. Which is, I don't know, hard to play certain games because it means you can't really talk then. Oh yeah, everyone thought it was me doing that. Because it usually gets lumped onto me. I have the most boring sounding voice. I've come to expect that now that people are gonna usually weigh it on my end. But yeah, no, people didn't really like ukulele when it came out. But people got very mad at us for saying anything about it. I don't know. It seems like if you have an actual discussion, it upsets people. If you just say, like, I think this is bad, and you just leave it at that, people don't seem to get as bothered. Because that's what I was seeing with ukulele. It was a lot of people just saying, like, it's awful, it's the worst. I'm just kind of leaving it at that, not really going into it. So when we're actually going through having a full discussion on it, it gets people really angry. So, where are these comments? I'm looking through the Reddit comments. I can't find anything. Well, you're flat out lying if you're saying that. Go look at the video for Crash 2, episode 1 subreddit. There's plenty of people getting mad about it. Top comments on it are the same thing. People are bothered by it. It's I was wondering what it was because people kept bringing it up during the stream. The people were getting really upset about it, and I guess so. I was expecting it. I was trying to not say too much, and anytime Chris was having a complaint, I try to sort of downplay it or just go like, Chris, sort of get it to stop. But I guess it still found its way there. People are bothered. Oh well. That's true. The moral of the story is that people will always be bothered. It stinks to me just because though we played it early and everything too. I don't know. I figured coming fresh out of the first 3 games and beating all of them and making it very clear we care about these games heading into the Insane trilogy, I figured that would be enough to be like, hey, we say these things because we care. Figured that would be enough. I guess not. Oh, well. I have one of the top posts on Oni Poison's picture of a car. Maybe you should do... Maybe you should do what I said and actually look at the thread discussing the video as opposed to just looking at random posts. The discussion on it is where people are bothered by it. I don't know. I don't fault people for getting annoyed by that if they're coming to the videos for jokes, though. I understand this to an extent. I'm not going to just act like, oh, they're wrong for not liking this, because they're not. I get it. I'm just bummed that even if we're trying to have reasonable discussion and conversation, because that was someone just breaking it down to like, this stinks, this dumb. We don't even do that. We really do try to like have honest discussion whenever it comes up. I guess people just don't want it, period. I learned that with ukulele. I've tried to hold off on it, but it's sad as the I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do to really improve on that, because I tried. I tried to stay kind of out of the way. Oh well. Well, yeah, the visual thing is more subjective, but at the same time, it's 3 different people who do art discussing this sort of thing. So I would hope people would also kind of understand that too. It's not like it's just coming from absolutely nowhere. Oh, well. Maybe focus on how people gave you... Listen... yes and no, because this means something. I know there's plenty of people who are going to be supportive no matter what, which is flattering, but at the same time, when this sort of thing does happen, I'm not gonna just ignore it. When it's a lot of people very, very upset by something, clearly there's an issue. So I don't know what to do, though. I actually don't know what to do. Because trying to roll off of it, trying to just say, like, Chris, whenever he's upset about something, it just upsets him more. Trying to kind of downplay serious talk doesn't ever go well. Because, I mean, it's people sitting on a couch trying to just have actual discussion. So I don't know what to do in that regard. What's done is done. Those videos are recorded. I guess I just get to have a repeat situation with this isn't going to be as bad as ukulele, at least. Maybe it will be. I don't know. Maybe that's why there was a trash thread. I didn't think about that. Maybe that's why it got posted. Maybe that's why people were trying to dig up information again, was because of this. I don't know. Oh, well. Just shedding the game harder to make them mad. Believe it or not, I don't operate like that. I don't act off of hatred. I'm not inspired to do something more because it's angering people. So. I'm just gonna avoid looking at it for next few weeks as these go up. That would be funny to do, but I don't want to. I don't want to go that far. It would be funny to just double down and have actual serious discussion the entire video, and just be very critical, and have long-winded conversations, really going in depth about how we feel about things, and just bringing up like. Just really going into it. It would be fun to do that, and it'd be funny to just keep going more and more into that, making discussions more and more genuine, but it's not a good idea. It's just going to throw people off.